In a world where we have everything and it's still not enough, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there's more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old push your way through and claim the deeper, more meaningful life that's calling you.
That's what we invite you to explore with us.
We're your hosts,
Stephanie Allen
and Maren. And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Yay!
Hi, welcome to the Soulful Leader Podcast. You know, this time of year, what I say this time of the year, this is the end of 2025 or heading into 2026, coming through the holidays, coming into the new year. And I know how everybody hates saying, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? Mama, right? But yet, at the same time, we get an opportunity to choose. And the power of choice, free will, we need to not take it so lightly, because when it's taken away, it's harder to get back. And I'm seeing this, like, even as I'm aging, there's less things that I have the ability to choose anymore. It becomes more narrow. And I'm not trying to be, you know, negative Nelly here, but it's being able to wake up to say, what is it that you truly, truly want? And I say this with my heart because I think many of us, myself included, we can be so focused outwardly on everybody else's needs and trying to maintain the peace, whether we're taking care of a family or we're taking care of clients or we're, taking care of our animals, our plants, whatever it is.
Right.
We tend, which is a wonderful thing to actually care and take care of our outer world, but it can set us up from being distracted to what is it that we truly need and want. And those are two different things, needs and wants.
Yeah, I think that most of us don't have any clue what we need or what we want, either one of those, because we're so conditioned by society on what it's supposed to look like. Expectations from childhood of what life will look like. You need to get this degree. You need to do that thing. So it's the rare family that looks at their kids and says, what's your passion? What do you want to do? What do you get? That has that discussion. And schools don't have the capacity to actually have that discussion with kids. So they just funnel them through all of the expectations, and then you get labeled, and then you start to live that label, and you get to be, 50, 60, 70, and all of a sudden you wake up and you go, who the hell am I?
Exactly. And I mean, that's a very common thing. Yeah. I see that all the time. I'm saying that with myself to say, okay, warning to myself, pay attention, Stephanie. What is it that I want? What is it that I'm seeking? Why is it important? Our longing is our greatest attribute for willpower.
Yeah.
And I think we can I know I do. I get so frustrated when there's something I really, really want in my life, whether I'm trying to overcome illness or an injury, or I want to lighten up in my weight, or I want to have a better, healthier relationship, whether it's with myself or another, or a life partner. And you can just feel like, WTF, like, why is this not working? I've checked all the boxes. I've done all the 3 steps to get, your health or to lose weight or whatever. And it's like freaking not working.
Right. The miracle water or the whatever, right?
The pill or whatever. And you just want to throw your hands up in the air and say, why bother? Forget it. It's never going to work anyway. I see this. I think those two ends, I'm going to make that triangle again, that we have. Imagine a triangle, and that bottom part of the triangle on one side of the corner is, I always say, it's the fuck you. Fuck you.
I can
whatever.
do it myself.
I don't need anybody, blah, blah, blah. Or it's the fuck me. Like, why? I can't do it anyway. there must be something wrong with me. And we ricochet. I feel like it's like a ping pong game. We just keep going back and forth and back and forth. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And there's a third option, which is the peak of that triangle at the top, which merges in between the two of them. But it's not on that same level. It's actually at a level higher of where we can practice being aware. I'm not this and I'm not that. I know I am longing for something, and can I stay present in the moment without trying to fix or force or control it or doubt it? But can I just have an awareness to pay attention to what is being asked of me.
So I love this because it's so simple. It's so
Oh, but
beautifully
it's hard.
right. It's not easy. So I want you to share with us, tell us a little bit about what goes into being able to, I guess there are two things that I'm thinking of. First of all, is recognizing that I'm in one of those corners of the triangle. And then, because you can't change anything until you recognize it, right? So then once you recognize, so once you address both of these, first is how do you recognize that you're in one of the triangle corners? And then once you recognize that, how do you transcend it? How do you not just go to the opposite corner or get stuck on the same level, maybe in the middle of being torn between the two, and actually transcend it to that higher place you were talking about?
Well, I think you just kind of said it right there. It's like recognizing, am I fighting against something outside of myself? Am I defending or being, confrontational? Or am I beating myself up inside, telling myself some stories? So those are the two ends of the triangle.
So
That's how I recognize it.
if there's a voice or there's a story about poor me, I'm the, if you go into that, or if you go into the story of they did it too, like I'm going to, like I'm angry at them. So if it's an outer anger or if it's an inner anger or resignation.
I'd call it another way is like victim and violator. Like, when you want to just say, screw you, that's it. I'm out of here. You're out of here. I'm throwing your bags out on the curb, or I'm leaving, or like what I'm doing is I felt like a victim long enough, and now I'm going to violate you. I'm going to punish you for my pain. That's the violator. The victim is still really inward of like, it must be something I did wrong. It's got to be my fault. I'm a terrible person. What's wrong with me? I must be messed up. That's the victim. And oh my God, both of those two ends are so exhausting. You can sleep for days, trust me. And your bodies, your tissues, you'll feel it. Like panic attacks, fear, anxiety. That's a lot of that is that victim. But that rage, like pain in the neck or the jaw pain, it often comes that way. It's like, I just want to like rip this. We get that way. I would say if you feel that in your body, you're probably at one of those two. And so here's how to transit it. If you recognize it, that's 99% of it is just recognizing where you are.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're 99% of the way there. Most of us get so addicted, and I mean it is an addiction. Our hormones and everything get all revved up when we're in the victim or the violator stage, that we get so conditioned with it that we actually set ourselves up to feel it so that we can stay addicted. We can stay getting those internal hormones all jacked up. So if you're recognizing going, oh my God, I'm out of control again, or this is feeling out of control to me.
So I'm going to point out what you just said there of I'm out of control versus this is feeling out of control to me. And that's huge.
Yes.
Because the only way to get to that next place that we're talking about, or transcending it, is to stop identifying with it, is stop saying it's me that's angry. It's me that's this. I'm this. So when you can create space, the only place that transformation can happen is when there's space. We need to make space. And we can understand this like when we walk into our office and it's a complete mess. We're like, oh my God, I can't even work in here. I need to make space first, right? It's the same thing inside of ourselves. When we claim that of I'm the victim, I'm the violator, now there's no space to be either something other than one of those, right? So we need to make space. And the easiest way to make space is to stop saying I am.
Exactly. And to stop it. Like just stop it. Like stop it. Like drop and stop. Like just go, oh, okay. I do is I just close my eyes and I take a deep breath and I go, okay, I am being involved in one of those old patterns again. Oh, this is just a thought. It is
It's not
just an
who I
emotion.
am.
It is not who I am, and it's enticing me to go down that path again. So if I stop giving it energy, giving it attention, and I start giving myself attention, meaning I'm just going to breathe to my heart right now. I am going to imagine, this is what I tell my clients to do. Imagine, and I do this myself, imagine you're sitting in a theater and you have now just taken the scenario and you put it up on the movie screen. And you're sitting in the theater. But not only are you a participant, you're also the director of this film. So you can make changes. You're in control. So I put myself in the theater, sitting in my seat. I watch the scene going by and I go, wow, that's fascinating. Look how I'm holding my body. Look how I'm not breathing. Look at how I entered from that way and I said it this way. What if I tried something different?
Yeah. There's I'm going to interrupt you real quick because this may resonate with people. There's a scene in the Matrix, the original Matrix, where he's in the cab, and the woman, they come to a crossroads, right? And they open the door, and he's deciding, do I go with these people or do I get out? And the woman says to him, "You've been down that road. You know where it ends."
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment that I think of for myself when I see myself on that movie screen heading in that direction. I've been down that road. I know where it ends.
Yeah.
And I can choose a different way, red pill or blue pill, right? Like I can choose a different way. And I may not know what that way is. I just know the other thing that I was doing, I know where that ends. So I try something new. I don't know where that ends.
And so it's going to take a lot of energy for you to get back into the cab. Just shut that door and go, okay, wait a minute. I know where that path goes. I know where that leads.
And so you're now heading into the unknown. And that's why you're saying it takes a lot of energy, because
it takes a lot of energy to stop that path. And so what I recommend you do is just breathe. Give yourself, and your breath is energy. And when we are stressed, we don't breathe. We actually stop giving ourselves and our cells even, energy. So if you notice you're not breathing, breathe. It's going to change your brain right there, right there.
The other thing that breath is it's space.
Space for choice. Remember we were talking in the very beginning. I said, we underestimate our ability for choice and free will. And the less we start choosing, the more it's taken away from us. Not because it's taken away from us in the other world, although that happens too. But our neurons stopped firing in that direction. And what fires together wires together. So if you stop giving yourself choice, you stop giving yourself choice. You start to reduce the amount of choices that you're going to have.
The other thing is when I stop choosing for myself, I've now handed my choice, my autonomy, my ability over to somebody else, and they will make the choice for me. And I think that that's where, when we were talking earlier about how society has been doing that for us since we were very young. And we do get to a point in our lives where we get angry about that. And we go, well, who the F am I? Because I've just allowed my choices to be made for me. And I don't even know what I want or who I am or where I'm going. Oh. And the easiest way to get out of that, because it seems like that may be a tangent, that we're not talking about the victim violator or that bottom layer of the triangle anymore. And actually, it's exactly the bottom layer of the triangle. And it's the making space and the stop identifying and the allowing ourselves to make our own choices. And then getting curious about, okay, I've been down that road. I know where it leads. I'm choosing not to go down that road. I'm now sitting in the unknown, kind of scary place.
And it's scary because you haven't been there before. I want you to tell that part of yourself that says, I'm scared, and kind of like let it, fluff its little feathers a little bit. Because say, it's because you haven't been here before. And that's actually a good thing, because that means you're not on that road to you where you normally go.
Right.
You're somewhere else.
And where I go with that is like, okay, now I'm on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to leave the right, wrong, good, bad.
Yes.
We need to leave that behind, because when you're on an adventure, nothing's right, nothing's wrong, nothing's good. It just is an exploration. So I get curious. Okay, well, I tried it this way and I really didn't like that. Okay, what's another way I could try it? I don't have to go back to that same road because I still know where that road leads, right? It's the making space and then getting curious.
So in that curiosity part too, Maren, I would also say, I'm curious, what is it that I really want to experience inside myself? That means not what do I want to experience with this person or this event or whatever. Yeah, that's great too. But you don't really have control over that. So it's just going to keep sending you down the other road. Oh, now I'm a victim. I don't really have control. But you do have control about what you want to feel internally within yourself. And you might say, I just want to feel safe, or I want to feel free, or I want to feel love. Whatever comes up for you. And I did this with a client the other day, and we were talking, and when I was listening to her, what I said to her, I said, it sounds like you really want some freedom, space, right? And this client said, absolutely, that's what I want. I said, so when you're on that bottom level of that triangle and you want to like rip the lungs out of that person that you're talking to, or you want to just say, well, why bother? I'm stuck here now. I might as well be forever. Go to the center of the triangle. What's going to be the elevator or that's going to lift you up is saying, I know I really am seeking freedom inside myself. So if I was free inside myself, how would I be in my body right now? How would I think differently? How would I hold myself? How would I breathe? And what if you even breathe freedom? Because that's the elevator. That's the like, whoosh, it's going to take you right up. I said, plus it's going to be that silence for a little bit, which always makes the other person that you're having the confrontation with a little nervous anyway, because they're like, okay, what are they thinking? But that's actually power. And I say this because I have a cat, and my cat is so good at being still and present. Like he looks like he's sound asleep, but his ear twitch, 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 and his tail twitch, twitch. I know that my cat is aware of everything that's going around in the environment, but it literally is so still and so present that it's drawing to it energy. That's what you do in the center of that triangle, is you drop in and you draw to you the energy of being present to yourself right now. Going, what is it that I can give to myself inside right now? What am I seeking? And can I breathe it? Whoosh! Now you are the cat ready to pounce on the mouse when you're ready. Or to do what, because now you've made space to be able to say, now you've got guidance.
So I'm going to give an example from my own life that just happened. I was at a seminar, and it wasn't going the way I expected it to go. So part of me was frustrated and angry that I wasn't getting what I had come for. And I was in this place of like, do I be frustrated and angry with it wasn't what I was told it was going to be, and I'm like, right? Or do I just resign and be like, well, whatever, I paid my money, I'll just see it through, and I won't come back. That's the resignation, or the victim or the violator, right? Mm-hmm. And so I stopped for a moment, and I was like, well, I know that I was meant to be here. And if I lived in a friendly universe and everything served me, what would my options be? So I did what you said. I stopped. I dropped in. I didn't identify with either of those. And I went to that place of like gathering energy. And what I noticed for myself is, if I looked at this seminar in a different way, there's a lot that I could glean from it for myself on an inner level. And then also it would change how I was interacting with it in that moment. So I came from a place of, what if I were a coach to every single one of the people that's here, including and especially the organizers, because they're the ones I'm most frustrated with right now, right? I didn't like the way it was being organized. I was like, I would show up very differently if they had hired me as a coach to come in and see, like, how could we make this better? And so I started looking at it completely differently. And I showed up to them and to myself both completely differently. And that I went to
that's the key, right?
Yeah.
We show up differently.
I was no longer angry. I was no longer resigned. I was curious and I was interested. And I walked away from that event with so much gold for myself, which if I had not done that, I would have been crabby. At the best, I would have been crabby at the end of the seminar, right?
Well, see, often there's an internal story that we're telling ourselves about the outer world. And that internal story is either going to take us down the road of victim or down the road of violator. And what I'm suggesting and what we're suggesting here is that you hold center and become your own inner rescuer. Yeah. Meaning that you give yourself the space for transformation so that you can listen, go, what is it that I need inside myself that I can give to myself right now? And you slow down, you stop, you drop in, and then you'll get the guidance. You'll get an aha that is right for you, that you can then respond or not respond. Not responding is also an action. Sometimes it's simply just holding space. I said this to someone today. I said, when someone's arguing with you or trying to gaslight you or doing all these different things, like sometimes they're in their own little story world, in their own little fairy tale land. I should call it a scary tale. They're probably in their scary tale, which isn't a happily ever after. So you don't have to join them in it, but you can stay loving and present to them, going, look at them go. And when they're throwing accusations at you, and you can just say from a place of love, I hear you. You might be right. I'll have a look at that. But you can't say, yeah, you might be right. You can't say that. Because that's coming from the violator, or it's coming from the victim. Yeah, you might be right. Do you see the difference? It's like but if we hold center in the rescuer part within ourselves, rescuing ourselves, we make space. We then respond differently, and they hear it differently.
I'm going to suggest, other than I want to get us off the drama triangle completely, because the inner rescuer still, there are issues with that, which we can't get into right this moment. And one of the things that is possible is to completely get off that triangle. And instead of thinking inner rescuer, think inner coach. Because a rescuer tends to take things out of somebody's hands and do it for them, which doesn't empower and all of that stuff, right? A coach will help and support and allow the mistakes to be made from a loving place. And that's exactly what you were actually saying, just with the language of the drama triangle. So I just wanted to offer
whatever works for you, whether it's an inner coach or an inner healer or an inner parent. It's what will keep you neutral instead of, if an inner parent puts you into a violator or victim mode, well, don't use that one. Use a coach, but use what you can imagine that would be the most loving and kind for you, that you would feel safe and trustworthy with. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, for example, this client that I was working with, where she felt the most empowered in her life was being a grandmother. And I said, well, if your grandson was acting the way your husband's acting, which her grandson does act that way, I said, how do you show up with your grandson? And she goes like, well, I just calmly, because I love him to death, she says, just love him. And she said, I look at him with a smile in my eyes and I'm like, now, honey, we talked about this, about being, when did we talk about, and what did we learn from the last time? I said, obviously you're not going to talk to your husband that way. But what I'm saying is that how she was internally, she was patient, she was kind, she was present. I say, can you take those qualities and bring them to your husband?
Right.
Like, don't talk to him the way you talk to your 4-year-old grandson, but have that presence of inside yourself. And that's what we're suggesting you do in that middle part of that triangle.
That's
whatever
the
it
elevator.
is. That's
Right.
the elevator.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
I love that. So anyone that's looking for support along these lines, one of the things that we offer is every year we do a give back and we do the 12 days of presence, which literally is the 12 days of Christmas, relates to a month of the following year. So we've been talking about not knowing our why and feeling frustrated and angry and maybe even bitter about the fact that we're not taught how to find that. We're conditioned by society to do all these things that aren't even who we are. So how do we get to know who we are? We're coming up at that time of year where we're setting goals and we're doing New Year's resolutions, and there's an alternative. It's the elevator that we were just talking about. It's a transformative way of doing it, and it's from the mystics. And so we presence each of those days, which is related. So January relates to the first day of Christmas. February is the second day of Christmas. So if we're staying present to what's happening on each of those days, we're actually presencing the incoming future from our higher self. And that's the part of us that knows why we're here, that does want to get our attention.
And it sounds simple. It sounds so simple, and it is a simple, but it is very challenging to break old habits and to start tuning into a new habit. And this is why we do it as a group. So you have support, and it's not going to be perfect. It's not about being perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have questions. That's actually really great, because the more you make mistakes and the more you have questions, the more you have ability to gain that life force to be able to move towards where you need to be. So, we do this as a group, and it's fun and it's creative, and there's a million different ways to be able to unfold this for you in your life. And I love being in a group because I hear of some of those other ways that people are unfolding it. And I haven't thought about that one. And we help each other. But there's so much power in coming together and moving together as a group towards something of the ideal. And you can still have your individuality within that diversity, which is so important.
Yeah. And the nice thing is that you've got the group energy and it's done on your own time. So there aren't mandatory calls or anything like that. Everything is done via email. So if you'd like to join us and the growing number of people that are doing it differently and, head down a new road in a supportive, wonderful way, you can join us at tslp.life. And right at the top, there's a banner that says the 12 days of presence, and just sign up for it and you'll be included in our 12 days of presence this year.
So have a wonderful, happy holidays, whatever you are celebrating, and may you be nourished and feel loved and appreciated because you are.
Thanks. We'll see you the next time.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.